Go.
Prior to the pandemic, our office staff had a wonderful tradition, like many other office staffs as well. They would go off for a weekly Tim Hortons coffee run. Well, they quickly realized that I don't drink coffee, so they brought me back a cup of cold water. We heard about the cold water from our first reading. Okay, it wasn't a cup of cold water, it was a cup of hot water. It had a little bit of chocolate in it too. But I saved one of the cups. This is from the camp series they had a little while ago, and it said, "Camp gave me hope," until I took a marker to it and wrote, "Jesus gave me hope." But I also love the other Canadian tradition that when I go over to visit with friends, they ask me, "Father, would you like a cold one?" As Canadians, we may know something about hospitality, but more than just giving others a cup of cold water, or even a cold one. In our gospel, Jesus is teaching us two things. One, hospitality, and two, carrying a cross. I'll speak to you first about carrying a cross. Jesus says, if we love our family more than we love Him, then we are not worthy of Him. This was very true early in the church, in the early church. The decision to become Christian literally tore families apart because Christianity was so incompatible with the rest of society and everything around it. When they became Christian, they separated themselves from their entire network of social and business contacts. Becoming a Christian was a major decision. It wasn't a private choice. It had consequences. Today, our world is so countercultural to the teachings of the gospel. The drug culture, the corporate greed, marriage is trivialized, and the assault on human life and dignity. In almost every case, we are faced with the decision to go silently along with everyone else, or to live as Jesus has taught us. It's a choice for us, which is as serious as it was for those in the early church. The power of the popular culture is everywhere. Music, movies, television, internet. It's so aggressive and relentless that many Christians are drawn to it, and many of them leave the gospel teachings behind. We all know people whose family life, married life, and personal life are in huge distress because of the influence of today's culture. There are people, as St. Paul says in that second reading, who were baptized into Jesus Christ. At their baptism, they were given a white garment, anointed with holy oil, and given a lighted candle. St. Paul says, everything, absolutely everything, is different for those who have been baptized. It's like Paul is throwing cold water on our face and saying to us, wake up. We have been baptized into the death of Jesus Christ, so that we too might walk in the newness of life. That we too might walk in the newness of life every single day of our lives. We must consider ourselves dead to sin and alive to God in Christ Jesus. In other words, our baptism permeates, it soaks into our very being, and it publicly transforms a person's entire identity. We who are baptized into Christ are given the grace to be free from sin and from social conditioning. We have been given the amazing strength to carry our cross. But sometimes things go wrong. Some lose this sense of identity and stop carrying their cross. And so they ask themselves, even we ask ourselves, is there still room for them here? Remember the lifeboats? Is there still room for them even on the lifeboat? This is where Jesus' teaching on hospitality comes in. We all know fellow Catholics, even our own children who are now adults, who have made mistakes and committed serious sin, who who now feel that the Catholic Church doesn't want them anymore. That is simply not true. We gather here to become holy. The hospitality of the church is not a hospitality of a 4-star hotel where perfect manners are expected. Here in the church, we have the hospitality of grace, where people don't have to have that picture-perfect life, and who have made mistakes, big ones, serious ones, but they can come here to begin again. There indeed is room for them. In our gospel today, Jesus says, "Whoever gives even a cup of cold water to these little ones in my name, that person will not lose their reward." Indeed, it was a hot climate in those days, and wells are few and far between, so a cup of cold water indeed was greatly appreciated. But a cup of cold water here might also refer to a kind word, an act of kindness, or simply forgiveness. Who are these little ones that Jesus is referring to? These are the little ones who are forgotten. The poor, the migrant workers, the ones I think of, the ones in Kingsville back home, who have because of their sickness they're only in stage 1 so far. They're being blamed for that in some sense. The old Chinese man who's being blamed for the virus. Those with mental disabilities who are facing violence. Those who are divorced and separated. Those who've made mistakes and don't have the perfect family life. Jesus had a heart for these little ones. Jesus had a heart for the lost, and he calls each and every one of us to have that same heart, a heart for the lost. If we know of Catholics, ex-Catholics, lapsed Catholics, former Catholics, who feel that they do no longer feel welcomed, or that too much water has passed over the bridge, who have been overwhelmed by their cross in life, let us try to show them this hospitality of grace. Let them know that there indeed is a place here for them. The church is a place that they can call home, where we can renew our spiritual strength, to remove the stains of our baptismal garment, to relight that baptismal candle. Let us today and always make an effort to show them the hospitality of grace, the hospitality of Jesus Christ.